No.
Amazing. Should we get both in or just one now? All right. Perfect. All right, Mary, we'll start with the introduction because
Okay.
because you know Kate a bit more than me.
Okay. So we'll do the 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
3,
2, 1.
Oh, we never get this right for some reason.
Are we ready?
Welcome to the STS podcast.
Yeah, all right, we'll do it on 3, 2, 1.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the STS podcast.
I'm your hosty, man.
And I am Mariam.
And today, what are we doing, Mariam?
Yeah, so we have a really cool guest. Came across her TikTok actually, and I was like, one of your first TikToks that I saw was Debunking Babs, and I'm like, this is going to be my friend, this lady. Yeah, we're going to be friends, I think. Your content is great. You do a lot of wellness, debunking, supplement debunking, barbs debunking, and you're a chemist as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah, you're a chemist for 25 years.
Yes,
as I know. Yeah,
a pharmacist. Yes, I've been a pharmacist for 25 years. So that's a good quarter of a century. I've been explaining to people why natural doesn't always mean good for you.
Yes, that's an important one, isn't it? We all think that natural is harmless, Well, if that was the case, then, heroin would be, everyone would be okay, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, cyanide is natural. Snake
right.
venom is natural. So I think childbirth is natural, and anyone who's been through that knows. So yeah, certainly that's natural does not always mean better for you.
Absolutely. So I guess we can talk about some of why you got into this and what, you're busy. What made you want to reach out and create this platform that debunks these kind of myths around wellness and the health industry, or big wellness, as it's now sort of referred to as. Tell us a bit about that journey.
Yeah, well, so prior to June of this year, I was really happy, actually proud of the fact that I had no social media presence. I had about 100 Facebook friends and 100 Instagram friends, and I didn't even have TikTok. And I rarely consumed or never posted on social media. And then my 17-year-old daughter is doing the HSC this year, and she came to me one evening, and so thankfully she's almost finished. She's got her English exam tomorrow and then she'll be done. But at the time she was preparing for her trial exams, she came downstairs and asked me to prepare her a saffron latte because she'd seen it on TikTok and someone said it was good for anxiety. And I was like, I don't remember that lecture from university. And because I'm a good pharmacist, I thought I'd better research the dose and the form of the saffron so that I would, be able to elevate this jug of milk to an anxiolytic. And I wasn't about to spend $70 and 5 grams of saffron if I didn't think it was going to be effective. So I started having a look, and I thought I'll find the study. Yeah, I don't know, something like purported anxiolytic effects in the female HSE student, with a standard dose and delivery system and statistical significance. And of course, surprising nobody, I did not find that study. But I did come across some wild claims being told very earnestly by people with honestly straight faces. And the nature of TikTok is, as you start to look at videos, it starts feeding you more of the same thing because it thinks you must be interested in it. So very, very soon, my algorithm was just full of all of these wellness videos. Yeah. And I just got served one too many, I think. And I thought, all right, I am, I'm obviously very shy and don't like to have an opinion. So I thought I'll make a debunking video, and I posted it to my brand new TikTok account and went to bed, and then woke up the next morning and was like just blown away by the number of views it had had and the number of followers I now had. And I was like, oh, despite what my children keep telling me, apparently my opinion is reasonably valid.
Apparently I am cool after all.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
A lot of strangers on the internet think so.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's how it began.
Yeah, I think we're in the
Yeah.
wellness space as well. So I can imagine that a lot of people would probably feel like this is a bit hypocritical on our part. So because wellness is such a undefined term, I would say. You know, people can see it in different ways. We're both naturopaths. Like we should be pro this kind of content. But the fact that we also have a problem with a lot of the misinformation that is out there. What are we talking about when we're referring to wellness and wellness influencers? And what are we actually talking about when we're talking about the wellness sphere of things?
Yeah, well, I mean, I work in a shop pharmacy, so I guess I'm in
Yeah,
wellness too. Um, and for me, when I think about wellness, which is a term that's sort of only reasonably new to me. I mean, I guess previously I'd have called it other things, but it's not about perfection. It's about prevention. So I guess if you think um you're monitoring your blood pressure, or you're monitoring your blood sugar, or you're protecting your bones from osteoporosis, so that's all being proactive about a problem before it started. And that at 48 obviously looks different to me than it did when I was in my 20s. So now I'm looking at vitamin D and calcium for my bones because I'm osteopenic in my spine, and I'm starting to look at HRT and all that
yes,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
And not because it's not because I think it's a fountain of youth. It's because I'm wanting to grow old the best way possible and try and prevent as many things from happening,
Yes.
and being proactive rather than being reactive. Just not waiting for something to break before we think about trying to care for it.
yeah.
Um, I am aware though that it comes with a great privilege. So being able to think about health and wellness in this way, um, just zooming out. So even looking at the country where we are, the fact that I have access to a GP, to a pharmacist, to regular screening, to time and money to spend on all of this stuff. And that's not everyone's reality. Um,
100%.
yeah. So that's why I think like wellness is really, it's not a great term, I don't think, because it's often a reflection of people's access to education and housing and,
It's associated with privilege now.
reliable healthcare. Yeah,
You
of
wouldn't
course.
be
Yeah,
selling wellness to, people who are in some, what do you call it, third world country. They wouldn't, who are just looking to scrape by. So I
exactly.
feel like for me, especially, um, it, the wellness industry has been so commercialized. It's about consumerism and it's about privilege. And I think for me,
Mm,
that's where I have a great uh, problem with this whole wellness space. It's all about buying expensive supplements, expensive skincare, expensive pots and pans, and not everyone can live that lifestyle, and it's making health seem more inaccessible. So I feel like it's actually doing the opposite than what it's intended. So rather
mm,
than creating equity, it's creating inequity.
mm,
And I think
mm.
because, like, social media doesn't necessarily um, differ as far as who is accessing this information. Like, this information is like available and marketed to everyone,
Yeah,
regardless of who you are, your income, your socioeconomic status, your geographical location, all of these things. So I think because videos can travel so far and content can literally reach every corner of the globe. So you've got, all this really highly polarizing information, or misinformation, basically, which can spread like wildfire. And people don't necessarily know, again, I'll have the tools how to decipher, fact from fiction, and what isn't reliable. And I think when you're in that like bubble as well of wellness, you become so caught up in it that you really struggle to see outside of that. Like,
100%.
and I
The
feel,
bigger picture.
yeah, the
Mm,
bigger picture, because I feel that when you speak to some people that are fully engrossed in that wellness sort
mm.
of lifestyle, about some of these other factors, like they're so out of touch with
Yeah.
reality. In terms of, oh, well, have you actually thought about, like, I've been posting about Wheat Bix lately. This is just, a reflection on Instagram. I've been posting about how great Wheat Bix is, and how much of a staple it is in my household, and just the amount of possibilities that you have with
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
And
yeah. It's a great.
know that people are seeing this content and they're thinking like, that's
Oh my
not a healthy
God.
food. Like,
Yeah.
that's, you know, that's got glyphosate,
Yeah.
you know, or that's got, you know, it's just like a refined wheat, mind you, it's whole wheat.
Sodium.
But
Yeah, too high.
you know,
Yeah.
I've received a lot of messages about like, you know, sodium content and just
Yeah.
all this unnecessary stuff. And it's like, people are like not having regular meals. They're like not eating vegetables. Like, you know, they're not getting blood tests. They're not getting, you know, support for their chronic health issues. Like,
Low vitamin D, for God's
like,
sake. Your iron's low.
is
Yeah.
it necessary to focus on all this other stuff? But yeah, I definitely find that, you know, for some people, it's like the message falls on deaf ears as well, because you just become really wrapped up in that sort of, you know, everything that comes along with it. So I don't know where I was going with this, but essentially, you know, I guess the space that we all show up in online is can feel a bit, I don't know if you can relate to this, Kate, but it can feel a bit hard and heavy sometimes because you're like, you feel like you're fighting against this huge force out there, you know, and then like there's people that love and value our content and that will, you know, check in with us and say, thank you so much. This was so valuable, or I saved money, or I, you know, I feel like so more seen and so on and so forth. But then there's other times where you feel like, am I making a difference? You know? Because again, it's like we're, you know, fighting so much sort of online. But I'd love to hear your, you know, because you've been doing this for, you know, not too super long. So yeah, I'd love to hear what your reflections are on that. And I guess, you know, the TikTok world is a bit different to Instagram, but what are your sort of reflections there?
I just think it doesn't need to be overly complicated, you know, like just so basic things simply. Your example of Weet-Bix is very, very good. Because of course you could complicate that. You could grow your own wheat and then mill it down and then, you know, like you could do all of that, but honestly, that's not attainable for most people. And so you have to work within the structure that you have, which for the vast majority of us is going to shop for things at the shops. I mean, I guess you can grow your own vegetables a little bit, you know, like you can do a bit of that when we have chickens. So I have lovely fresh eggs. I mean, that's super easy. But there's no great need to overdo simple things. And you see, you know, these ridiculously gorgeous young people on the videos, and they're coming to you live from their kitchen and they're in their bare feet and they're speaking directly to you, and it's all very personal and you know, well marketed. And then you're sort of left with the, oh God, is that what I need to be doing to be, you know, being my best self? When really it's not, you know, it's just not the case.
Yeah, I woke up and I had you know, what do you call it? Those the waters that have the positive ions in it, and then I went for a yoga session,
Who's that chick?
and then
Is it
you know,
Nala Smith? Is that her name?
she was a model.
The chick
No,
who's like
Smith.
always making everything from scratch and is like
Yeah, that's her.
financially
Yeah.
like, you know,
She's
incredibly
a
affluent.
millionaire, but
Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. Is that her name? I can't remember, but
yeah.
I don't know her, but she sounds,
Nara, yeah.
yeah, she sounds
That,
tasty.
that, yeah, yeah. So the wellness has a particular look.
Yeah.
And if you don't fit in that look, then it's like, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. If you're not having a matcha, sorry,
Yeah, I'm not big matcha girl, yeah.
you're not in the wellness. You're not cool enough. You know,
Yeah.
you
Right.
can't be giving health advice.
Mm.
So we've become from this where we've tried to and I'm trying to figure out where we got this wrong. So we've decided that, okay, look, we don't want to listen to doctors anymore. They don't really give the best advice. They don't know how to talk to their patients. There's gaps in the system. We know that. We actually acknowledge that there is gaps in the system. GPs don't have enough time for you. But then we've decided to go the complete other switch and decide, you know, the person on the internet with no qualifications whatsoever, just looks cute, looks good. They're the ones that I should listen to. Like there hasn't been this middle, like how do we go from one switch to a completely other switch? And why is it so compelling?
I think there has long been a tradition of that top-down approach from medicine, which is I mean, back in the
authority. Yeah.
like hundreds of years ago, the doctor was the most important person in the village,
Yes.
wouldn't they?
Be all end all.
And
Yep.
yeah, and I think even up until probably, oh, so I started in hospital pharmacy in the year 2000, and even then there's a pyramid of healthcare, and the specialist is at the top, and rightly so, because ultimately they are responsible for the healthcare of the patient in that hospital. But it was a very much hierarchical system. And even now, just 25 years later, it's become a much more multidisciplinary approach, which is wonderful. But I think that people probably were ahead of the curve on that one. So the traditional setup of medicine with the doctor at the top and the speaking down to the patient has been replaced by this sort of peer-to-peer conversation, which is a lot more accessible to people. And also not forgetting the fact that you've got access to these people 24/7 in your house, whereas as you said, I mean, the primary health system is struggling, and GPs are being asked to do more and more and more, like all the time, spend more time with people, understand more, but also see more people and bulk bill for the entire thing. So I can see how the attraction of accessing this from your couch
Mm.
but it is a lot more relatable because they're people like you, aren't they? I mean and when I said that, I mean that, they're people like me. I'm just speak to them and they seem to be talking directly to me, and it's been my experience, and then you feel seen, which is
Mm.
maybe something that traditional medicine needs to work on amongst all the other things it needs to work
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
on.
do you think there has been a huge shift mainly after COVID, or do you feel like it was leading up to this and COVID kind of exacerbated it? Do you feel like COVID had anything to do with it?
Think people were very scared through COVID, and also were shut in their homes with access only to their phones, um, and the internet. So that certainly didn't help. And the thing about COVID was that we were living it in real time, weren't we? So it's not like we had really terribly much experience with global pandemics or how to roll out a vaccine service or like anything like that, like massive public health initiatives. We weren't even really good at that because we had never had the opportunity to do it before and to learn from it. So I think that people were it was evolving in real time in front of people,
Mm.
and people were rightly worried about it because it was very scary, it was very unknown, and the science was changing in front of them. That's the thing about science, is that it does learn and it does evolve and it does change, and you have to keep looking at it with that critical sort of thinking. But I can imagine that if I were if I didn't have the background that I had, I would find that very confronting. I would find having somebody say to me one day this and then having it change the next week or whatever, I would find that very, very confronting, and probably rightly think, well, maybe they don't know what they're talking about. I've found this person on social media and they're speaking very convincingly to me. I will place my trust in them.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, they do. They speak with such conviction. And I think that's the scary thing, because even in science, we do all this research and there is always still that margin of error. We never say, this has proven this. There's always that this may impact this may have this kind
Mm.
of outcome, that kind of, there's not that definite sort of answer. But then you get influences online that I took this and it cured my psoriasis, it cured my this, and it was such conviction. And because there's no accountability as well, I feel like that's a huge problem, that they can make those claims and there's
Mm.
no backlash. There's no, but if you were a GP, if you were a nurse, you know that you've met with all these standards and you can get, your license revoked and all that kind of stuff. So I think it makes it a lot easier as well for people to make claims and get away with it. And there's really no repercussions whatsoever. And I think
Mm.
you put on your post yesterday when it came to home birthing and doulas, there's been this rise in home birth deaths
Mm.
because of people
Because there's
promoting.
free birth deaths, yeah. Which obviously free for our listeners, and free birth is different to home birth. Like free birth is no medical professionals at all. Like you
Mm,
could even just be by yourself, like just letting everything just take
yeah.
its course. Whereas obviously home birth is, you know, I'm speaking for Australia or maybe Victoria, but usually home birth within the hospital system is with 2 registered midwives. So
Yeah.
you've still got medical
Yes.
professionals
Yeah.
there. But yeah, I was posting about that and
Yeah.
saying that yeah, that they're looking to crack down on doulas, and there should be more regulation. You know, at the end of the day, childbirth is a significant event, and to think that you know, women are not, you know, to think but it's the system that's pushing women to no longer want, you know, it's a whole sort of approach in terms
You're
of
saying it's not just one thing. It's
it's a
a few,
specific issue with,
it's a
you know,
few
women not
issues.
feeling safe enough to obviously birth in hospital or birth trauma and all of these things, and then looking for alternatives outside of that. And then yeah, so this is obviously, it's a very nuanced discussion, but I was basically saying there needs to be more accountability. I support, you know, the government taking this more seriously, like reform, registration, even for us, like even for our profession, like, you know, it would be great if we were registered, or you know, if the government, you know, recognize the value sort of our profession, but also trying to limit all the quacks out there and the people that are doing short courses that are like 4 weeks and then saying, oh, I'm a naturopath, or
wellness coach, or
yeah. And it's the thing, like it's, yeah, like it's, we're talking about all these systemic issues which do need to be addressed sort of at the top, but we can still obviously use our voice to project the right information. And I think you know, what I always tell myself is my information will reach the right people.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I think that's what sort of, you know, keeps it all going.
But the idea is these influences, these, you know, online spaces can have real life consequences and can have detrimental effects. And I guess what, and that's what I want people to understand. That's what I guess what we try to advocate for here, is that you might listen to someone and it might work for you. It might not work for the other person. Right. And that information that you're getting might have detrimental effects. And then who's going to be held accountable to that?
Yeah.
I would be dead. So my son and I would both be dead if we had a home birth, you know, with a free birth. We would, you know, we would not have made it. And that's why people were, childbirth was one of the most dangerous things you could do back in the dark ages. So yeah, you're right. Just because it worked for you doesn't mean it's safe, or something that may work for somebody else. I don't know if you, sorry to interrupt, but I've noticed that my
don't stress. I just I think the connection cut off, but I just stopped it anyway because I go, I'll extract a few goodies from that.
It's enough? Okay.
Yeah, don't stress. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess in your as a pharmacist, right? How then do you take the time to educate people that come to you? How do you address those issues? What I guess, I know you have your online space that you do that, but what are some other ways that you can dispel this misinformation and create that trust that people have lost in the system, the health system?
Well, I think this is a great opportunity for pharmacists in particular, because pharmacies are very accessible to everybody. It's the only health, I think we're the only health professional where you can walk in and have access to a pharmacist without
just have a chat,
without an appointment.
Yeah.
Without paying and without an appointment. So that's a very precious space to be occupying. And you have to then have, I mean, I have a lot of experience now in pharmacy, but also I have a lot of experience with my, you know, just being me. So I can see that it's a very different conversation for me to have than it is for perhaps a new grad who has just completed their registration year to be initiating and having these conversations. But it's just a matter of saying, so for me, I think it's a matter of saying things like, you know, if somebody comes in and wants Voltaren, so say diclofenac over the counter, instead of just going, okay, sure, here it is, and then taking them up to the till, saying on the way, using that as an opportunity. Oh, what are you using this for? You've got a bit of, oh, that's a bit sore. What else have you tried? And then just teasing that conversation out a little bit, because it may be that there is something that I can just unpack a tiny bit and then offer a different solution for, or you know, say what other medications do you want, and then find out that perhaps there's something that is, you know, is a possible interaction to that, or something that maybe even have adverse effects that's maybe causing this pain that they feel like they need the diclofenac for. So you get, I think, a better service. And this isn't to say that there aren't wonderful clinicians in big chain, like warehousey kind of discount places, but I think that if you have a focus on price and discount, then maybe your the clinical service that you're offering just naturally has to suffer because of the amount of turnover you're looking for. Whereas some of these lovely independent pharmacies, they have, I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there for the pastoral care around people coming in and having a chat about stuff and actually getting to know people within the community. I mean, that's what a community pharmacy was always meant to be. It was meant to be a community hub, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I actually think that community pharmacists are so valuable. I've worked in a pharmacy before, just as an just sort of as an assistant, but I think, you know, for the people that can't access a lot of the allied health care system or allied healthcare professionals, you know, those conversations that they get to have with pharmacists, with some of the staff. Again, there's a lot of like naturopaths or nutritionists or other sort of staff that tend to be employed at community pharmacies as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to engage with people in the community and have the capacity to ask those questions, especially if you're a little bit more quiet or you've got time in between scripts and whatnot, to give, to sort of let people pick your brain, and also, you know, find alert to things like red flags or things that might have been missed, or there's so much scope for having those conversations. And I think you know, you're going to reach a different target audience, and maybe perhaps the kind of people that need it, because a lot of, think about your elderly population, they're not on Instagram and TikTok looking at, you know, unless you're my parents and you are on Instagram and TikTok and sending me videos saying, what do you think of this? Or you know, my mum sent me a video the other day, like it's the whole video is in Arabic, about magnesium. It was magnesium glycinate. Yeah, mind you, I've had her and my dad on magnesium glycinate many times in the past. But she was like, "Oh, have you heard of this type of magnesium? Like, this is amazing
because it's marketed better than you marketed it to your parents."
There's a bougie, a good-looking silver fox sitting in a, you know, chair, conveying the.
Well, I would be listening too, though.
Yeah, high quality video, you know.
Yeah.
So I think you know, you get to reach a lot of the people that need it. You also get people that, you know, might have just come off or been on drugs. Like, you get all kinds of people coming into pharma, because I know from when I used to work in there. So you really can give people those alternatives. And you know, in terms of, you know, nutrients or herbs or what, you know, pharmacists get a lot of training and support in a lot of you know, natural therapies as well. I know a lot of the companies come out to you guys. So
yeah, it's part of the degree now.
Which I was going to actually, was perfect segue into that conversation, which is, you're a pharmacist, so people naturally would assume you're only going to be prescribing medications. Where is there a how am I going to put this, a space for both supplements and, you know, natural therapies to exist alongside pharmaceuticals and things like that? And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would like to just add to that question as well. And in your practice, what do you find is some of the most common things that you're sort of seeing and then co-prescribing or co-recommending? Yeah.
So I'm lucky to work in a pharmacy, and one of the owners is a pharmacist and a naturopath.
Wow.
And he is a wealth of knowledge, and we have a very, I think, thoughtful and curated range of complementary medicines. And I know, so when I did my pharmacy degree at Sydney University, it wasn't part of the degree, but now I know that they have a whole topic on complementary medicines. So they have to coexist, because otherwise, otherwise we're polarizing people, and we don't want that. We want everybody to meet in the middle, where the information is good and the evidence is solid. And the only way to do that is to have it, you can't feel shame if you come in and think, oh, they only do prescription medications in here, and I, want to ask about, I don't know, collagen or something. So they absolutely have to exist together. I mean, we have a lovely also there's I'll be the first one to admit that there's lots of over-the-counter herbs and supplements in there that I don't understand well, but I am making it a real focus of my continuing education this year and next year to learn more so that I can have these conversations with people. So I would say the one of the most common things people come in for magnesium. So knowing the different kinds of magnesium and knowing how they're absorbed and knowing like how they work is really helpful, because cheap magnesium, people might think all magnesiums are created equal. They're not. So if people are taking a cheap magnesium and it's giving them the runs, then they feel like they can't tolerate it. Or maybe you've got the wrong kind. Maybe we can try something else. And if you're trying to stabilize some cell membranes or, something like that, if you're not taking it for crap, like there's a whole conversation there to be had. I mean, lots and lots of people come in for collagen. My jury is, I mean, you ladies may be able to teach me something. My jury is slightly out on collagen. I mean, I feel like collagen is broken down into amino acids in your tummy anyway. So all amino acids are good amino acids. It's like protein. It's just, and women, especially, people like me in perimenopause, we need to be eating more protein. So I feel like if collagen's not harmful. I'm not entirely convinced joint collagen knows how to get to my joints. But I feel like my body will use it, like it's going to use it where it's needed. And then there's oh gosh, what else do we sell a lot of? Oh, there's a lot of probiotic, prebiotic stuff. And there's, I think, I mean, you could learn a lifetime and still not understand the extent to the how the gut biome is working. But there's again, I think all probiotics are not created equal. So if you are, having a course of antibiotics, that'll be a different treatment to if you're wanting something continuously and long term for, I don't know, if you've got a different
years or something else.
concern. So it's actually it's a wonderful opportunity for me to extend my knowledge in this area, and so that I can give people like quality advice. But I also think it's important to know when you're out of your depth and go, do you know what? I don't know. I don't know about berberine. I'm not sure about that one. Maybe give that one a skip, or just being able to, like, honestly being able to say, I don't know enough about that to give you advice on that.
I think that's like for all health professionals, it's such a moral and ethical responsibility to like know our boundaries, know our limits,
scope.
This is where I can support you up until, and you'll need to get, additional expertise, for XYZ issue. I'd love to ask on that point, how often do you see dangerous, like co-prescribing, co-using, co-supplement use with, medications, and, how often are you having to tell people, hang on, I actually think that might not be safe. Please get some more advice, or just straight out saying this is unsafe together.
It's impacting your
what
medication.
What do you see in your day-to-day on that front?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the St. John's wort's a good one, because it isn't without its side effects, and it's not without its interactions, and often is used with antidepressants which are working on brain serotonin. So that, because they are natural bedfellows, but the St. John's wort can exacerbate the serotonin syndrome. So that's a really good one to be talking about all the time. It's when people, because there's so much access to complementary medicines over the internet, that you really sometimes have to dig with people to get them to tell you. I mean, when I worked in hospital,
they don't always think to disclose.
They don't always think to disclose. And I mean, fair enough. I completely understand that. And when I worked in hospital, one of our roles was to go and get a full medication history on admission, right? So you go and say to somebody, what do you take at home? And then beautifully list you off their prescription medications. And you keep digging, you're like, do you take any herbs? Do you take any do you take any, do you take any? And sometimes you can get out another whole list of complementary medicines that no one was going to know about.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if you dig further, you can ask about illicit drugs, and then that's a whole other conversation. But certainly, I would say St. John's Wort's one to be just mindful of. Curcumin's another one. I actually love curcumin for myself, and I know there's been some head-to-head studies with it against ibuprofen for anti-inflammatory effects. And I know that there's now work being done around how you absorb some turmeric's famously poorly absorbed, but now they're thinking that some people's microbiome can turn that into something that can be absorbed. So there's all of that. But it can also cause like blood thinning, like a non-steroidal. It can, yeah. So making sure that people understand that as well, if they're on, I don't know, lots of old creaky people take aspirin a day, or maybe on an anticoagulant, may also have an arthritic kind of pain. So you would think, oh, you know, curcumin might be good long term, you know, baseline for that. But just letting people know that they are not without side effects just because they're sold in. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a big, because I mean, I got personal experience in that area with my father who had a stroke. He's got heart conditions.
He's on
he's on polypharmacy, and he orders himself. You know, he just goes to the pharmacy and just puts a whole stack of things, which for my dad, it's probably helped him a lot in the past. But he was then prescribed warfarin many years ago due to his heart valve. And that is something when I guess, push for people to understand it's not harmless. It can be detrimental to take supplements with warfarin. You have to be so careful. My dad has to get a blood test so often, and any little changes is reflected in the INR. And I'm telling you, it is so problematic. Any changes in his diet, it's so sensitive, this drug. Fish oils, it takes fish oils with it. That fish oils thin the blood. Curcumin thins the blood. There is a whole host of natural supplements that thin the blood that just freak us out when it comes
you go to buy it, and then it's like some mega dose of like 5,000 milligrams or whatnot.
But also, there's so for example, there will be magnesium, but with some other nutraceuticals in there, and then they'll go and top that up with, oh, this is for brain health, this is for bone health, and they all have the same things in there, and then you end up getting this compound effect because you're overdosing on it essentially. And that's where I think they had the problem with the B1.
I was going to say B6.
Is
that something that you've seen in pharmacy as well?
So that's highly if you're on medication, it's something you really need to disclose to your GP and doctor. And a lot of patients that I have who have serious conditions like IBD, they don't tell their specialist because they're going to be shamed for it.
And I would say take them with you. So actually, if you're going to a consult, collect everything up in a bag and actually physically take it, because exactly what you said, you can say, oh, I take a magnesium supplement, which then gets written down as magnesium supplement. But if you haven't read the back, you don't know what else they've put in there. And I'm not a big fan of like multi. Yeah, like I like one thing for one purpose, but I feel like these multi umbrellas are then you're adding and adding and adding, and it was exactly what you said with the B6. I mean, that's how you end up increasing over, I think it's only 50 milligrams of B6 a day is the recommended daily intake, I think, which you're getting from your food. I mean, unless you are severely dietarily deficient, there's no need to be dosing on B6. But if you don't know, so I would say, yes, carry that bag. Don't feel like you are over the top or you're embarrassed. Just take it and then tip it out onto the table so that everyone can see exactly what's going on. Because actually, we're just there to help, aren't we? Like, as health professionals, as health carers, we're literally just there to help you. So
I think if you can, obviously not everyone can do this, but if your like health professional or provider is kind of like gaslighting or not, you know, or shaming you for some of these choices. If you're able to find someone else, great. You know, if you're in a position to, you know, because unfortunately I do, I have been experiencing this lately with some of my clients that are some specialists
They
and
won't, specialists especially.
some of them are
They,
really happy.
yeah,
I find that with certain, like when it comes to fertility, they're so happy for you to be taking nutrients and herbs and but I definitely find that in other spaces, especially people with autoimmune
yeah,
conditions and you know other chronic conditions, which really push them to seek out alternative
yeah,
options because they feel like they're limited with management. Sometimes there is that sort of judgment. And so that can make it really tricky, I guess, and maybe a part of the issue why people don't always disclose. But if you're able to like get that second opinion or, you know, great, you know, that, but I think as health professionals, we have to be so aware of how we're making, what kind of space we're providing people to come and disclose that information with us as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I completely agree. You have to have a relationship with your,
Like rapport.
yeah, and it has to be a relationship that everyone's happy with, you know. So you're, just because you've been referred to a specialist, I guess doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the one for you. You have to feel safe and trust within that relationship because ultimately,
Yeah.
you know, healthcare's a team and you're the captain of the team. So everybody is working, you know, but all decisions have to go through you, and you have to make the decisions based on the information that they're giving you. But you absolutely have to have someone who you respect and trust. And that just might not necessarily
It
be the
is.
one that's the closest to you
It is a
geographically.
problem. Do you ever prescribe? Do you ever have, sorry, particular medications like statins, we know famously deplete CoQ10. Do you ever, in your position, say, look, you're taking this, I would like you to take this supplement, or is that not really your?
So we do so with on that statins and the CoQ10, so that's I actually just did a TikTok video on it.
Oh,
Um,
did you? I didn't see it. No.
so uh CoQ10 is a good example because there is some evidence behind it and it is reasonably well tolerated and, you know, reasonably priced. So it's a, you know, it's, you would think on the face of it something you could absolutely try, reasonably harmless. Um, I think that the statistics around the number of people who actually are deficient in CoQ10 or on a statin are quite small.
Yeah.
But again, that's a great conversation to be having with people. You've started a statin. How are you feeling? Oh, I feel a bit, you
Yeah.
know, my muscles are aching or whatever. And like, okay, great. Well, you know, what can we talk about? Can you discuss the dose with your prescriber? Can we talk about adding in a supplement that may support that whole process? That's a wonderful conversation to be having. And they are the conversations that everybody should be having with their pharmacist when they go in for their prescription medications and their prescriber as well. But just that the pharmacies are sort of a more natural place, I guess, to have those conversations. But I try to I try to make sure that whatever it is I'm talking about, I can then back up with actual studies for people so that, I mean, because I don't want people to think I'm upselling because that erodes trust
Yeah.
as
Yes.
well. And I think it's a difficult balance in a pharmacy because they are a shop as well. So you have to actually make some money to keep the shop open to be able to provide a service. And there's a limited amount of money you can make from the dispensary and of the shop. It's really limited to, you know, what the PBS, you know, rebate is on the medicine. So a lot of the front of shop stuff does some of the heavy lifting. But so there is a balance there. And thankfully I'm not a pharmacy owner, so I don't have to
Sorry, one second.
navigate that balance. So I just get to have my moral high ground and you know, talk about things that I, you know, feel comfortable and know that there's good evidence for.
Yeah.
Mm.
You made such a good point about rapport and like, you know, providing them that additional advice that can help, but then also finding that balance between, you know, recommending things that will support, but also fitting that within their budget and also, you know, keeping the business running and all that sort of stuff. And I guess we can relate to that as naturopaths, you know,
Mm.
where people are paying for our time, and yes, we're recommending, sometimes supplements, herbs, nutrients, but also we're really trying to do a lot of that diet and lifestyle stuff to fit with people's long-term ability to keep up with whatever they're doing and support their health long-term,
Yep. Yep.
I know Miriam really wanted to pick your brain about Barbara O'Neill. I feel like we could do a full can of worms on that, and I'm just conscious of time because
I was just gonna
you
I
can
was gonna put it across this way. I was gonna say there is a lot of misinformation online. What do you think are some of the most dangerous let's say top three most dangerous ones? And how do you think that they could negatively impact people?
Oh.
I was gonna put it across that way.
My no, so I've got so I guess I think that we need to stop detoxing everything. It's like you've got liver and kidneys and they're doing a great job already. So the wellness push to constantly be detoxing from something, I
yes.
think we just need to divorce ourselves from that and just understand that our our liver and our kidneys have got us. We don't need a tonic for that. I would like everybody to retire the idea that your hormones need balancing, because hormones are go up and down, from hour to hour sometimes, and they are meant to fluctuate. You're meant to have a spike of insulin after you've eaten. Your estrogen levels rise and fall throughout your cycle. These things are not that means it's normal function. That's not dysfunction. And it's just that the word balance has got such a lovely, gentle, empowering, kind of nurturing quality to it, but it's really just a marketing term. There's no blood test hormone balancing panel. So I think we need to move on from that. And again, just reverting back to I think we mentioned it at the start, but just natural doesn't always mean safer. And the number of people who come in and really want to talk to you in depth about their prescription medication, but then are really thinking about not taking it, but are on many, many, many supplements which maybe don't have the evidence or the standardization behind it. Like, that's wild to me. And it's not that it's natural or synthetic. It's how it behaves in the body and how it's the data behind it and the dose. And it's that's a message I wish people would get, more than just sort of synthetic and natural. Just briefly on Barbara, because I do have a soft spot for Barbara insofar as that she's she's a
Little old lady.
well, she's yeah, I mean she's reasonably, though I think, dangerous in lots of ways, because she has just enough sciencey language to make her sound sort of legitimate, and she often refers to her sources, who are often borrowing the term doctor when they're not actually, got nothing to do with medicine. And then, I mean, some of her advice is ridiculous and harmless. Like, I don't know, that whole put onion on your throat to cure your sore throat one. I mean, you will just have an oniony smelling throat, but and still a sore throat, and that's not that's not a crisis. But she is famous for telling people that women should not have mammograms. Incidentally, I am going from this interview up to have my mammogram. So anyone who's listening and you're over 40, this is your sign to go and contact Breast Screen and find out, and because it's free for people over 40, and it picks up problems before they become bigger problems. So, but so saying stuff like that to people, mammograms cause breast cancer, they don't.
Sunscreen. Don't forget the sunscreen one. Just
oh, the sunscreen. Oh, it's like you're if you wear sunglasses, you get sunburnt, but if you don't wear sunglasses, you don't get sunburnt, because your eyes tell your skin that to shut down receptors, like there's some kind of weird Roman Tetsubo formation. I mean, but also the whole cayenne pepper, like I've resuscitated somebody with no heartbeat with cayenne pepper. I mean, really, that's just taking time away. Like, if somebody has no heartbeat, the only thing to do is chest compressions, just chest compressions, and call an ambulance. But if you're not saying to people you need to go and get a first aid, you know, a basic CPR first aid course, if you're telling people to go and rummage in the cupboard for some cayenne pepper, then you're actually taking time away from what could be life-saving intervention. So she definitely can go from the sublime to the ridiculous
Yeah.
in terms of
This
her
is
health.
how so many wellness influencers though, or like functional medicine people, or I'm just going to say, you know, online wellness personalities putting out misinformation is they often will marry it with things that are truthful and honest and evidence-based, and they'll mix it with bullshit. And then people don't, because they've said things that are evidence-based and true, people will just then give them that trust and don't necessarily ask questions or know how to decipher
That's right.
what is fact from fiction. And I think I've been seeing actually a big push towards people recommending against different investigations, especially like the mammograms, the pap smears. Like, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of this shit online, and it's really upsetting because to make people fear the investigation more than the disease itself is
It's crazy.
wild to me. Like, that's
But
just
also,
wild.
I mean, she's been saying that having a pap smear is absolutely you know, trauma for your cervix. And I'm like, has she had a baby? Like, does she know what that cervix can do? Because taking a few cells from a tiny little brush on a pap smear is nothing compared to getting a baby's head through there. So
Yeah.
it's just it's so stupid. And I think that I think we need to practice more skepticism. You know,
Yeah.
who does this even sound logical? What is she saying? What is
Mm.
anybody saying? Does it sound logical? Does it make sense? Is there evidence for it? And who benefits from it? So if she's saying
Mm.
something, I would like everybody to think about those four things. Who's benefiting from what she's saying? And if
Yeah.
it's her, then I don't know, maybe that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the fact that she's a little old lady. That's why people trust her.
She
Because
didn't used to
naturally
be though.
women are more trusted. So that's why they're used in marketing more and things like that. So the fact
And
that it actually plays into her personality more that she's
but
an old lady. And
Barbara's been on I mean Barbara's been around since the 70s.
yeah, but she
She
died down and then she made a recent comeback like during COVID and it
So she
like
died down
wild,
because she
went
was
wild.
banned. She was banned by the HCCC for
Yes,
having any kind of content to do with health advice in New South Wales. So she's actually moved
she
overseas.
moved. Yeah.
And I think that you're right. The social media platforms are just given her another lease on life. But
Yeah.
she has almost cult-like following. Like it's not a
Yeah.
logical conversation
Correct.
to
We
have.
we actually I had a friend argue with us on like some of our debunking videos about things that Barbara O'Neill has said, because she's a health professional but she's also a cult follower.
Yeah.
And that was shocking to me to see that even like another health professional had fallen into like the misinformation ditch. And I think like it was a lot to do with that ancestral sort of well-being. We've done a whole episode on ancestral living and how it's bullshit essentially, because not people's ancestors didn't actually do half the shit that people are saying is the ancestral way of life. But yeah, it was quite shocking to see that you're right, that there's definitely a huge cult like picture. And I think there's a lot that comes with that. And it's that authority sort of voice when you're an older person, when you're speaking to what
Like
looks
with
like an audience,
yeah.
you know, with a whiteboard and what looks like a tutor or a lecturing sort of environment. And I love what you said at the start of Miriam's question, where you said we need to get better at being skeptical. We
Mm.
should just be skeptical of everything we see online instead of believing things straight away.
But
We
if
should,
the same information came from a man in a white coat, everyone would be like, let's not trust this guy. So that whole
yeah,
the white coat authority is the
syndrome.
top down
Yeah.
is now that has gone, that's, you know, this, people get skepticism, you know, from science, but there's no skepticism at all when it comes to the wellness industry. No skepticism at all. If it's
And
natural, it's good for me. It doesn't matter what detrimental effects that might have on me. And yeah,
people
it's
need to
wild.
remember that big wellness
Yeah.
makes more. So big wellness has the same amount of money as big pharma and the GDP of Japan together. So that's, and so the argument that we can't trust big pharma because big pharma's in it for profit just doesn't stand up very well against those kind of numbers. But I think that sometimes these conversations, they're just not logical. And you can't argue that, you just have to, I suppose in your like with your friend, you have to decide whether that's something you can agree to disagree on. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pick your battles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But crazy, even more crazy, like you're talking about the ancestry. Like, if we've progressed as a society, why are we looking back? That doesn't make,
Yeah.
there was things that were completely acceptable 100 years. If we have progressed, and that's the argument that I could never understand, which is our ancestors did this, our ancestors did that. Yes, okay, if it was a positive thing and it, had good outcomes, but they died at 40. Why are we trying to also go back to that?
Well, so
That's something that I
they didn't
couldn't
have,
understand the argument. I couldn't understand that argument, which is, okay, but like, they used to bury their baby daughters alive. Should we go back to doing that? I don't know. So there's a lot of things
they
that
didn't have flushing toilets. So
they used to, they used to throw their sewage out of the windows, So I can't understand that argument when we've progressed and we've understood things and we've learnt things and science has taught us stuff and we've evolved as a society. Why are we then going back to the Stone Ages to say, well, Barbara O'Neill says, this is really good because we, what was that, Aristocrates didn't have food until he was 2 years old. Let's go back to doing that. I'm
yeah.
like, what? Yeah, that I can't understand that. But anyways, any final reflections that you have, insights, anything you want to say, anything you want to say but never actually had the chance to say? Say it here. I won't edit it out.
I think I would encourage everybody to get curious and not fearful. So your health doesn't have to be so your wellness, doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just do basic things well, like do them well and simply, and just be curious, and don't be chasing perfectionism. Your body is doing an amazing job, so it really it doesn't need, I'm talking generally. I know there's some hideous chronic diseases, but for most people your body's doing a great job, so just let it do its great job with, move it, make sure you've slept well, make sure you've connected with your community. Like, all of these really basic things make a huge difference. And then
pillars of health.
Yeah.
The pillars.
yeah, of course. And also stop trying to optimize everything, like not everything has to be a hack. Yeah,
Stop trying to optimize, stop trying to balance, and stop trying to detox.
Stop
being skeptical.
And stop thinking your body's full of parasites.
That's it. We need that on a t-shirt, ladies.
Let's make that t-shirt.
Unbalancing my hormones.
Unbalancing my hormones. That's right.
I just wanted to quickly, I just felt like I didn't do the intro properly, so I wanted to do that again.
Do it,
yeah. I felt like the intro was a bit.
Sorry to rush this last bit, but I have a consult, so that's why.
That's crazy that you booked that in.
Well, this was meant to happen at 11, am I right?
Wow.
So I thought I'd give myself enough time. Yeah. So that's okay.
Forgive her, Kate.
No shade about the time.
Forgive her. So I'll do the intro again. I'll because I felt like I just did a shit job at that. But I'll say you've been a pharmacist. Hey, welcome, Kate. You've been a pharmacist for 25 years now. You obviously work in a pharmacist, a community pharmacy. And what else should I add?
Yeah, I work in a community pharmacy. I work in community palliative care, and
a large TikTok community.
Work in aged care, and I have spent a lot of time in hospital pharmacies. So
okay,
that's my CV.
All right. So welcome, Kate. Thank you for joining us today. Kate is a pharmacist, been a pharmacist for 25 years. She works in a community pharmacy. She's also worked in the aged care space. And tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you got into the wellness space, how you got onto debunking misinformation on TikTok, because that's where I found you, and what I guess your platform is all about.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. It's such a privilege to be invited onto your podcast. So yes, I've been a pharmacist for 25 years. I've worked across hospital pharmacy. I work in community palliative care. I do some community pharmacy work, worked in aged care. I've been around. So I've had a good quarter of a century explaining to people why natural isn't always safer. I got into social media accidentally, really. I was introduced to it one evening when my daughter came and asked for a saffron latte, and I thought, just better check the anxiolytic effects of saffron, because she's sitting her HSC exams and she'd heard that saffron latte would make her less anxious. And I just got sucked into the wellness rabbit hole and was delivered one too many detoxing health cleanses and thought, oh, I must make a debunking video, and didn't think terribly much of it, and then woke up the next morning and it had gotten some traction.
It went viral.
Gained some followers. And so yeah, I thought, oh, there's obviously an appetite for people out there who are craving actually evidence-based healthcare. Yeah.
And some guidance, I think, with all the craziness online when it comes to wellness. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now we can do an ending spiel if you like.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
So appreciate it.
It
Honestly,
was so
I was so
lovely to
excited and it was so nice.
It's really nice
to your
to connect.
face. Yeah. Like, I know it's you're still on screen, but different on screen. So
thank you very much, and keep doing your podcast, because it's so important. If there's a vacuum of information, then misinformation will fill the space. So it's wonderful to have your grounded and thoughtful voices for people to be able to listen and learn. You girls are awesome.
I hear you doing one with Dr. Carl. Have
I
you done it
am.
already?
Yeah,
I used to watch him as a kid. Yeah.
Me too. I'm super excited. I'm like,
That's so
full
cool. I can't
fangirl
wait to
over
see that come out. Yeah.
It's
That's going to be
brilliant.
cool, inshallah.
Yeah.
We will share your socials in our show notes so that people can find you. But for anyone who's on TikTok or Instagram, it's Prescribe or Pass, correct?
Yes.
Where Kate does a lot of her sort of myth busting and evidence-based sort of snippets and health gems about different sort of, medications or supplements or herbs and things that are going viral, which shouldn't necessarily be going viral, or going viral for the wrong reason. So definitely give her, check her out, and feel free to share this episode with your friends and family that are obsessed with wellness BS. And we'll catch you guys at the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.